Okay, we're going to get started right now. Before I pass things off to today's moderator, I have a couple things to say, but good afternoon and welcome to Part 2. I realize the thing says Part 1 and the date is wrong at the top, but I will make sure those are updated later. But we are Essential Elements of EdTech Leadership Part 2. Two things of housekeeping before the end of this webinar. We are recording this webinar, so you will all get a follow-up email with a copy of this presentation and a copy of the recording. Also, if anyone has Q&A questions to use at the end for the Q&A panel, please use the Q&A box on the lower right-hand side of your screen or the chat box. So now I'm going to pass things off to Dennis.
Hi, thank you. Welcome everybody to today's event, where we will recognize 4 of the 8 winners of our 2014 Tech-Savvy Superintendent Awards, and then you'll have a chance to learn from their experience. This is the 14th year we've given these awards, and they honor some of the nation's top school district executives for their leadership and vision in using technology to transform their schools. For those of you who aren't familiar with the process, we put out a call for nominations every fall, and then our editors narrow down those nominations to about 25 finalists, and then the winners are chosen with the help of the past year's winners. So I'd like to take a quick minute to recognize all 4 of our panelists here at the outset, and then I'll introduce each one individually, and you'll have a chance to hear from them. After everyone has spoken, then I'll lead a short question and answer session with the panelists at the end. The 4 winners we have on the call today are Louvel Brown, Superintendent of the Ithaca City School District in New York; Chi Kim, Superintendent of the Ross School District in California; Karen Rue, Superintendent of the Northwest Independent School District in Texas; and George Welsh, Superintendent of the Center Consolidated School District in Colorado. So congratulations to all the winners on behalf of eSchool News. We're really proud of the work that you're doing, and we're happy to be able to share that with our readers. I'd also like to point out that this year's awards program is sponsored by Lenovo, and we thank them for their generous support as well. And as Liz indicated, this is part 2 of a webinar series recognizing the winners. In part 1 last week, we heard from the other 4 winners. If anybody on this call did not attend that one, you can listen to the archived version on our website. If you go to www.eschoolnews.com/webinars, the archived version of part 1 is available there for listening. So without further ado, I will introduce our first speaker today. Before becoming Ithaca City's superintendent, Louvel Brown served as the CIO for a school system in Virginia. He's also been a teacher, assistant principal, and principal, and his experiences in all of these positions have given him broad insight into how technology can transform education. Please welcome Louvel Brown.
I'm honored to have the opportunity to share with colleagues and learn with colleagues today. As stated, I have the pleasure and honor of serving as superintendent of the Ithaca City School District, and we're about 6,000 plus students. And we are in the most beautiful place on the planet from my perspective. We were just recently named the top college town in America and the smartest city, small city in America. So very fortunate to be an instructional leader in such a great community and for a great organization. When thinking about EdTech leadership, when coming into Ithaca, one of the first books I handed out to my community and to my administrative team was Simon Sinek's Start with the Why. In that book, he speaks to how we must start with the why before getting to the how and the what. And with that, we knew we needed to come up with a new vision statement and mission statement. And I've been told, and I believe, that all that you do for great organizations must be able to be on one page. And this is our one page. After talking with folks in the community, in community centers, libraries, places of worship, schools, we landed on a vision statement of 6,000 plus thinkers. And the image you have here is an image of our community with those red dots being our schools. We want to create a community of 6,000 thinkers, and that's what we want to do as an organization. And to do so, we're going to educate, engage, and empower. That's our mission statement. This one-pager is on T-shirts, posters all throughout our community, and folks really believe it, understand what these words mean, and we're working to do it. And this is my 4th school year. Since being here, we've seen some significant cultural and quantitative and qualitative data shifts. You'll see a list of things that we have seen change for us and which are benefiting our young people. We've gone from a 78% graduation rate to a 90+% graduation rate. We've closed achievement gaps, increased SAT scores, 36 points. Attendance is up, discipline down. More and more of our young people are enrolling in high-level coursework. So we're very excited and proud of the quantitative and qualitative data shifts we've made to achieve our vision and mission. Here's an image and a slide we share with all of our instructional staff. We talk about these key pieces, things that we know the research is saying are shifting: instruction, pedagogy, professional development, student-teacher interactions, learning. We know those things are shifting. It's no longer a case of us having to sell our community and our professional staff on the fact that these things they are shifting. And when doing an evaluation of the Common Core, here are the words that are most prevalent in the Common Core. We talk often about the Common Core standards here and standards and what is it that we want to see happen for our young people in classrooms. And these are the verbs. We talk a lot about the verbs. And these are the things we want our young people to be doing most often when in our classrooms. This next slide, or these next images that are going to show up, are the things we're having many, many conversations about right now. Yes, if those are the verbs we want our young people to be doing most often in our classroom, how are these free tools that are available to our young people right now shifting what we do, how we think about teaching and learning, and what our parents and community members must understand about teaching and learning. Our young people are providing examples every day of how they're creating, collaborating, solving problems, doing all those things we want to have happen in our classroom, using tools that are available to them for free on devices that are oftentimes in their pockets, if not provided to them by our school district. I wish to touch on some key pieces to the leadership and what's happening in our organization that's contributing to us achieving our vision and doing our mission, and also resulting in those quantitative and qualitative shifts. Board leadership. I've learned that the work that we do, I'm not a great superintendent without a great board that is also a tech-savvy, a leading board. This board has taken a chance on a former CIO like myself. One of the things I've asked them to do is to allow me to be the primary professional developer for the Board of Education. Together, we've gone from an organization that was relying on 3-ring binders for everything to now being rather paperless. Our board can speak to our initiatives, our vision and the mission, and what we want to do with technology tools as well as the superintendent can. And that's become beneficial as we talk about reallocating resources to do the things we need to do. Together with the board and the community, one of the first things we decided we needed to do was upgrade our infrastructure. We now provide ubiquitous wireless coverage throughout all of our buildings and in the parking lots and playgrounds so that community members can have access to them before and after school. We also knew that we need to provide interactive white spaces in all of our classroom space, all of our learning spaces, and we've done that too. Things we did using a bond project, things that were intended to, a bond project that was intended to upgrade our facilities, we did so knowing that we need to upgrade our technology infrastructure as well. Another piece I wanted to touch on was that we've been informed by student voices throughout our process of improvement here. I have a superintendent student advisory council. We meet with various student groups. We survey students often. Our students have informed everything we've done here in my tenure, including what we've done with web filtering, technology policies, and other enhancements to teaching and learning. And this next piece I wish to talk about contemporary learning spaces. So when going after a vision as bold as 6,000 plus thinkers and really understanding what educating, engaging, and empowering mean, we knew that we couldn't have that happen with the traditional learning spaces that were here before. So in some cases, we've gutted classrooms and we've started over. If we were to build a space that was meeting the needs, the pedagogical needs of our educators and young people, what would it look like? Throughout our organization now, we have different seating. We have writable spaces, transitional spaces. We have young people on floors. We have young people at stand-up desks. Some young people not using a desk. Most classrooms not having a teacher desk anymore. Young people writing on walls, using interactive spaces. The learning spaces have been transformed to match the pedagogical needs of our organization. And what you see here, you see one of the spaces we call a model classroom, and you'll see a two-way mirror. We're setting these spaces up to provide an opportunity for professional development to occur as well. So on the other side of those mirrors there are educators watching a lesson being taught in one of these contemporary learning spaces. More images of young people writing and creating and solving problems and collaborating in a space that we call contemporary. More images of the think table. So we have these kind of spaces and surfaces at every level, elementary through secondary. Another, to engage, educate, and empower, we've also had to look at different technical tools that would allow us to do those things, and we've landed on game-based learning as an approach. Coming into the organization of the CIO, we looked at all software tools that we had available to our staff and young people, and we've had to stop using some we kept, and we've used some new products, including Imagine Learning, which is a game-based tool that we've been using that we know is adaptive. It's allowing young people to work at their pace. We have all young people. It's not a remedial program, but it's something that's good for all young people because of its personalized approach to teaching and learning. So game-based learning in all of our elementary schools, the contemporary spaces, are some of the initiatives that we have that are technology-related that are allowing us to do our mission and to achieve our vision. Some more images of how our spaces have been transformed using technical tools. And as a former classroom teacher at the elementary level, that image and tweak to the far left makes me happy when I see an educator working with a small group of students, and that was on a reading comprehension. Young people engaged in a game-based learning approach, and then what you can't see are young people on a wall writing and creating based on what they learned. That's a kindergarten class as well. So again, here in Niskayuna, New York, not only are we enjoying a great winter with a lot of snow, we're enjoying a great time as far as teaching and learning as well, and I'm fortunate to be here and learning something every day. And I'd encourage folks to follow me on Twitter, at LuvelB, and we have a hashtag ICSDPLC, where you can learn more about the work and what our educators are sharing on Twitter as well about what's happening. So with that, I say thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Louvel. That's great. Our next speaker today is Chi Kim, Superintendent of the Ross School District in California. To give students the knowledge and tech skills they'll need to succeed in college and the workforce, Kim has invested in a formal technology curriculum for grades K through 8 and new ed tech infrastructure throughout the district. She's also established elective classes featuring topics like 3D animation, app creation, and more. Please welcome Chi Kim.
Hi, thank you so much for, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I don't have access to the slides, so I just want to make sure someone has that. So I'll go ahead and get started. So part of our switch, we had a flood 5 years ago. I've been at the school district for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And with the rebuilding of the school and bond measure that passed with a brand new building with all the infrastructure in place, interactive whiteboards and everything else. But what ended up happening for us is there was no curriculum or any kind of overall plan for students. And so one of the main charges for the school board was to make sure that we took whatever existed currently, and now we wanted to find out where we wanted to take it. So they had 3 strategic priorities for innovation, differentiation, and communication to the community. So they set 3 goals. One was to increase student engagement and differentiate curriculum. The second was to build teacher capacity and making sure that we were training the teachers alongside with students. And the third was to build in systems for a continuous cycle of improvement, not just for kids, but for the educators in our system as well. One of the charges that they gave me was to work within the existing budget. I couldn't increase any expenses, and within the confines of the teachers' union contract. So the first level of student engagement and differentiation, what we did was we actually leveraged the technology tools and content to increase student engagement and academic rigor. We offered integrated technology curriculum for grades K through 5 based on classroom content. So the teachers actually work with our technology integration specialists to cover content. So if a teacher in 4th grade is covering California history, then they'll work together with the technology teacher to have the actual tools be taught in the technology lab classes. We also developed partnerships. We've hired a company called Planet Bravo we've hired them for their curriculum and using their summer camp model with their edutainment pieces for robotics and other courses that they offer, and actually have that embedded into our school program, so it wasn't something that they had to wait for summer or after school programs. And we also went into a partnership with Autodesk, which is allowing us to use their software for free as part of the education suite that they offer. Another change for us in terms of increasing student engagement was to offer new middle school courses. And we have a variety of them ranging from robotics, ocean robotics. We started a Design Maker, a fabrication studio for the makers in our school. We have a 3D animation, art and technology, movie making with the green screen, and app creation. And finally, we've embedded computer programming into the core content. We've actually integrated a math unit with computer programming for all 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Our 6th graders use Scratch for a unit of study, and our 7th and 8th graders built calculators with Python programming during their math classes. The other belief we have is that we're small and agile, so we view ourselves as sort of the test kitchen. Our entire staff and all of our students use the Google Suite of tools, and all 2nd through 8th graders have Google accounts. We use the web. We have Google Docs. So everything is dynamic. Teachers can communicate with students and grade their papers online, give them feedback that's timely and immediate. We also use several of the flipped model classrooms. We're piloting Dyslexia Core. We've got Reasoning Mind and Math that we're piloting at this point. Then we use other various apps. And the next stage for us is enhancing our STEM program. So we'll be piloting a Z-Space, a 3D animation, or sorry, 3D regulator for our STEM courses. The second piece is to build teacher capacity, and the way we did that, we did not ask teachers to become experts to teach the integrated technology classes. We want them to be content experts in the areas that they're responsible for. So what we did was we hired a specialist for expertise to teach students directly, and then in a parallel track, we wanted to make sure that we differentiated the supports for teachers. The past practice here was to have whole group and small group instruction for technology, and what we did was we actually individualized the professional development, which has actually increased the integration in the classrooms by 200% in less than a year. Our technology integration specialist meets individually with every teacher twice per month during their prep time or after school. And the way we started that, our system for continuous improvement, it's really the reallocation of budget to focus on teacher professional development and create technology integration. Step one was to survey all of our staff and get a baseline of their tech skills. And the next thing we did was we worked within the parameters of the workday and the negotiated professional development times and days and their prep time. What we did was we actually banked the staff meeting time to give back to teachers. And then we made one-to-one supports mandatory for every staff member, and then there's a tracking system for that as well, so there's accountability. And finally, we wanted to make sure we honor teacher growth and support the tech team. We celebrate small wins and an entrepreneurial mindset. There we go. Sorry about that. And then we keep a parallel track of student instruction and teacher individualized support. So that way we can make sure that everyone's getting their needs met. We want to model for the teachers what differentiation looks like, and the only way we could do that is to model it for them as well. We find that this has actually been a very powerful tool, and it's provided great synergy in the classroom. The next piece for us, where we are now, we've got the same interactive whiteboards in all of our classrooms. We included Apple TVs, and we've got audio enhancements. We actually went to one-to-one laptops for grades 1 through 8. And we actually started a take-home Chromebook program for grades 6 through 8 for our middle school. And you can kind of go through the piece. I think the most exciting part for our students is the latest application studio in the design maker space. We've got our 3D printers and all the Autodesk software. And we've got, even our PE classes have now gone into the integration space, and we are using GoPro. So PE teachers actually have our students wearing the cameras, and they're doing mini movies about how to do a proper pull-up or doing some of these funny events. So it's been really great fun. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chi. Our next speaker is Karen Rue, Superintendent of the Northwest Independent School District in Texas. She's described by colleagues as a transformational leader who recognizes the importance of 21st century skills in preparing students for their future, and her district's mission is to ensure that all students are future ready for college, the workplace, and personal success. Please welcome Karen Rue.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to join you and very much appreciate the opportunity to talk about our district. I do want to ask a question about the PowerPoint slide, though. I'm not seeing it here.
I'm getting a report. Okay. Some people can't see, but I can see it, and Dennis can see it. So,
hey, and I can't see it. Okay, I'll wing it then, because I didn't print a copy of it.
I can go forward for you, Karen. So.
Okay, and since I can't see the slides, I won't know where you might be, but we'll work on it together. How's that? Okay, let me start off by telling you that Northwest ISD is a district in the north portion of Fort Worth. It sits on the corner of 3 counties and has within it 14 different municipalities. So we have a lot of Indian chiefs in our world. We have a lot of community pride in individual communities, and at the same time we have a great deal of collaboration. We have strong community support across the base, considering I think many people believe that the school district itself is that one thing that can draw all 14 different communities together and think about what happens for their kids. So we, as a community, with much support from those people who work with us, started back in 2006 and began looking at infrastructure and talking about what ought to be available and accessible to our students. So a little bit of the journey was in the 2006-2007 developing infrastructure, making sure we had a strong fiber optic and wireless network throughout all of our facilities, and then moving into a wireless environment for our staff and for our students. We first began, and here I'm going to just move away from the slides, but we first began by taking away the bank of computers at the end of the classroom that were not being used. I could walk in and write my name on almost any screen anywhere. And moving to our teachers, the teachers of Northwest, having anytime, anywhere access, being able to be completely mobile and being able to access their work with a laptop or with a broad base of support for our teachers in doing that. And that required quite a bit, as you know, and I know all of you would, the type of central office staff, instructional technology facilitators, coaches, and then just the energy and the synergy that came out of people who were wanting to do this and learning about it together. So we got everything in the hands of our teachers first, and then we turned to students, because that's really, that's what we're all about. That's what we wanted to see happen. 5 years ago, we then went to a one-to-one device in the hands of each one of our secondary students, and then later came in with iPads at our elementary level. So we were ready. We were cooking. Teachers had their laptops. They were very comfortable using that, being able to do a lot of things on some background programming that we have. Students knew exactly how to work with computers. They've been doing it for years and were eager to get their hands on things. That first year we rolled this out, I expected those two hands to come up in a great big high five. And what we got was a big swish in the middle. And what we learned in that first year of implementation in a one-to-one program was that absolutely teachers knew how to do what they did through their lens and use technology for their work. And absolutely, kids were doing the same thing. The work being designed by us, by all of us, was not coming across for students. They didn't see themselves in that work, and they weren't being asked to look through a lens of technology in their hands to create product, to demonstrate their learning, and to collaborate with one another. We stepped back, and in about the February of that same year, we had a focus group summit. We pulled together a group of teachers, a group of students, and we said, what's not working about this for us? And the one thing that we learned in that were the pieces we did not know until we had experienced it, the type of connectivity, every student needing an email address, every a robust program and infrastructure to hold all of that work, and kids being able to create and place. We've gone through a long process of that. We're 5 years into it. Each one of our students has all of those pieces that they need now, and I have to tell you that the intent of lesson design, the intent of student experience has been absolutely transformational. We see totally different types of work that our kids do. The one thing that we're really proud of and that we think helps our community understand how students are learning now and what they are capable of is what we call our Technopalooza. Began a few years ago as a way to help the community see how kids were using all that technology that we had in their hands. We invited students to submit some of their best digital work. We went through a peer review process at the campus and again at central office, and then we held what amounts to a mini conference where students demonstrated in 20 minutes, a 20-minute presentation, their digital work. They explained what they were doing and why and how they did it to an audience of the community. The first year we did it, we had right at 200 students that work and want to share with the community. I think we probably had another 300 or 400 community members who came in to watch that. And it's really great to see a kindergarten student standing in front of a classroom of adults and share his or her his work for 20 minutes and then move on to another grade level. The second year, roughly 500 students presented, and this past year is our third year, and we had over 1,000 students presenting digital work. And one of our high schools was just lit up like a huge conference center. It gave our kids a real and authentic platform for showing what they truly are capable of. The book trailers, the types of web design, whatever it was that they were doing, but still a reflection of their classwork. When we asked about best digital work, we weren't asking about creating a digital thing. Show us some of your best work as a student and show us how you presented and demonstrated that using technology, which is what they've done. So we've made that sort of a shift. We work with staff now who are sharing and presenting, doing staff development for us in a Technopalooza. We do Techno Expo, excuse me, I misnamed it. Techno Expo for the students and a Technopalooza for the teachers, and the teachers are the ones who are sharing and presenting and teaching one another with that. We are well into our second refresh. We've moved to a tablet device at our high schools, maintaining iPads at our elementary schools. We are finding such strong community support for a new way of student learning that really is 24/7, that our community can be proud of. And in doing that, we continue to go back to them with a community-based summit of here's what we've been doing, here's where we are now. These are examples of what your students and your children are learning, and this is what education can look like and should look like anywhere, everywhere. We thank them for the work they've done to keep us in in a digital platform. All of you know the cost and the struggles that go along with that, and I think living, what I refer to as living in the world of persuasion by maintaining a belief that our kids can do anything they set their minds to, and showing our community what that looks like when they do. We get to live in the world of persuasion, not the world of defense, not, well, gee, this accountability test at a state level is what it's all about. No, it's really all about what the kids can create and the kids can do. So that's where we are. That's just a real, in a nutshell, what we've done. We've shifted from the lens of a student and what that means to them and how they share and how they demonstrate, not just for themselves or their class or their school, but through a web, through a very broad audience. We've shifted through all of the old standards of what a classroom looks like to something that is extremely fluid and extremely mobile at this point. We're still on the journey. It is indeed a journey, and I'm eager to learn from others and to look for the next thing we need to do that support our kids and support what they're going to step into as adults. It's just a big wide world out there, and I think for all of us, for those of you who are doing the same thing, we're showing that it doesn't have to be 1980s world. It can be today's world, preparing kids for tomorrow. So thank you for allowing me to tell a bit of our story.
Thank you, Karen. And I apologize to all of the attendees for the technical problems we're having. Liz is actually working on a solution in time for our next speaker. But Chi and Karen, thank you so much for bearing with us while we experience those technical difficulties. While Liz is
yeah, I can now see my slides, but it's okay. We won't go back.
So pardon everyone, you now get to see my desktop. George, just tell me when you need me to go to the next slide.
Okay. It looks like you got me up there now.
Yep.
Great.
All right, so it looks like we're ready for our last speaker today. George Welsh is superintendent of the Center Consolidated School District in Colorado. He heads a district where 9 out of 10 kids live in poverty and half are learning English as a second language. Despite these challenges, graduation rates at Center High School have increased from 33% in the mid-1990s to more than 90% today. Technology has played a key role in this transformation, and George has been a driving force in using technology to level the playing field for his students. Please welcome George Welsh.
All right, thanks. That covers our demographics to an extent. I do want to talk, as Duvel started off with his district mission, I do kind of want to throw that in there with ours. Ours is focused on the future, and it came as a result of a process that we took our staff through, it's got to be 7 or 8 years ago now, where we saw, I'm not sure how many of you have seen it, the original Did You Know video produced by Carl Fish, and that was where we were all convinced to be shocked as to how many fluent English speakers there are in China and India, how many, in fact, I believe one of the stats was how there are more gifted students in China than there are total students in the United States. At any rate, that gave us a reason to pause and think what we were doing for our kids and think about how we might get our kids ready to compete in a world where jobs would be outsourced, and if they didn't have the technology skills they needed to compete, that we would be left behind. So once again, a quick look at my demographics. The district, we're a small district, 650 kids, located in a very remote area of Colorado, the San Luis Valley. 95% minority, 90% free reduced lunch. Almost half of our kids are English language learners, and we also have a large migrant student population. You can go to that next slide. So it's been about an 8-year trip as to where we've come. Current makeup of our technology effort includes a strong local network, and that's a result of actually a K-12 building project through a state grant process. We have a strong network backbone. My heart goes out to you folks who are out there who don't have that in rural areas, because I know that can kind of put the kibosh on things right from the start. We have full wireless coverage throughout the district. We've got a blend of laptops and iPads right now. We're converting to iPads at this point for student devices. We have Promethean response boards in all classrooms, and we're using Apple TV devices. And I think if I had to redo our building that we just built a couple of years ago, I would consider not even going with the response boards, just using Apple TV devices and manipulating what's on the screen from the teacher's point or perspective, or from the student perspective. You can see we have 7th, 8th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders have laptops assigned, and our K, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 9th graders are assigned iPad 2s. Next slide. I try to really keep this thing simple. To me, if you're going a one-to-one technology effort and you want to really make use of it in terms of instruction, you have 2 steps. And the first step you got to be taking, if you haven't done it already, is get devices in your teacher's hands. I know it takes us back a ways ago, thinking about 7 or 8 years ago. And actually, I would say this process for Center occurred a little bit before that. We, like many school districts in the country, put desktops in every classroom so teachers could take roll and use the online grade book and things like that. And we were finding in our setting that was the only computer that the teacher's family had. And without the portability of a laptop, at least, where a teacher could take it home over the summer and maybe feel like it was their own and start exploring the things they could do using technology, that was a bit of a mistake. So number one, don't assume your teachers have access to technology beyond what you provide them at school. And so if you want them to use a specific device, you might want to find a way to get it in their hands. One creative way we did this in Center, by the way, we're a very low property wealth district, and so we can't just pass bond elections and mill levy overrides to fund these processes. We've pretty much funded everything in our district through some strategic grants, but mostly through just what we get per kid from the state of Colorado. And one of the things we did creative was we created a cooperative purchase plan with our staff members. At this point in time, our staff members can purchase a laptop and purchase an iPad. We have both in the hands of our instructional staff members. They pay for 60% of the devices. We pay for 40%. Sounds like selling refrigerators to Eskimos, but the reality is we just ask them to use it with us for 3 years, and after 3 years they're theirs, because we'd be having to replace them anyway, and it might even, in some cases, cost us to get rid of some of those devices. And so that really creates an ownership, and it also helps us with our budget. And then another thing is, I think when you first begin a process like this, you think about teaching your teachers 10 things to do, and expect them to be good at these 10 things, or 5 or 7, or whatever your target is. And my suggestion is get them to be good at one thing. Maybe they'll be the Edmodo expert. Maybe they'll be the flipped lesson expert. Maybe they'll be the digital textbook expert, so on down the line. If you think about what a kid's typical day looks like, especially when they get up into middle school and high school, if they go to 7 experts throughout the day, folks who are expert in different areas, they're going to have a pretty broad range of use of technology. Next slide. Step 2, of course, is finding a way to get preferred technology into the hands of your kids. Only way I can suggest this, if you're in a situation like I am, where there's not a lot of extra dollars out there, is that number one, you make tech a non-negotiable part of your annual budget. You guys in your states have been dealing with what Colorado has dealt with in the last 5 years. You've probably dealt with less money each of the last 5 years than you have the year before. The Great Recession hit us pretty hard. It really hit our education budgets. And yet, during the last 5 years, we were able to make the leap from pilot technology infusion to one-to-one K-12 in our district. And that's because we set aside a chunk of dollars that's for instructional technology, and we don't cut into that. You might, if you're thinking how to get started, you might start small by piloting. Just get a few classrooms worth of devices or a grade level or two worth of devices. If you're thinking long term, think about how you might target specific grade levels for strategic purchase. And here's what I mean by that is when we first started, we piloted sophomores. We expected those sophomores to use them in their junior and senior year laptops. And the next year we bought sophomore laptops. And then we actually dropped that down to the freshman class, the third year into it. We bought freshmen and sophomores and then the whole high school covered. But our target is always to just buy a device for a freshman now. And the expectation is that device will carry the freshman through their 4 years of high school. So we budget each year devices for ninth graders, devices for sixth graders, devices for third graders, and devices for kindergartners. And so we're only buying 4 grade levels worth of devices per year. That's doable as opposed to thinking about trying to buy 12 grades worth of devices all at once, which could be pretty difficult. And as long as we can keep it in our budget to renew those devices each year, we should be able to keep it going. We've already made the switch from laptops to iPads, and of course, you guys, if you've looked into that at all, that's a significant savings as well. Save money by providing your own insurance. If you've got smart enough people on your campus to repair devices, and I've got a former special education student in our district who we've trained to pretty much break down a laptop and put all the pieces back together, and can even replace iPad screens and batteries and things like that. You can collect money from your kids far cheaper amount than you would pay for getting into an arrangement with an insurance company. We looked at this thing, and our students who don't have much money would have been paying on the order of $100 per year for insurance, and we charge them $25, and we actually come out ahead on that because we do our own repairs. And then see creative ways to finance the purchases, multiple year purchases. We did a Kickstarter, not a Kickstarter program, a Donors Choose program to buy devices. There's all kinds of ways you can get devices into your system if you don't have the money readily at hand. You'd be surprised what people will support. So next slide. Where we are now, I think we make good use of our devices. We trust our students to take them home and use them in ways we might not have originally imagined. And for those of you out there who are thinking about doing that, the greatest fear is that they're going to disappear. You're going to be replacing them all the time. They'll be damaged. We have among the neediest kids in the country, I would say, and it amazes me each year how few devices we go through, and try to teach my staff members that it's a good thing that a kid takes a device home and figures out things to do with it that we would have never even imagined. It sure expands their learning. We use a lot of free and subscription platforms like Moodle, Edmodo, Khan Academy, Odyssey, Skills Tutor to support learning and practice. Many of our teachers use student iPad apps to support what they're teaching in the classroom now, to blend their learning, to support their practice. And because of our commitment to instructional technologies, our teachers are becoming pretty darn expert at linking internet-based curriculum resources to our adopted curriculum. And we have something called Common Core Plus in Colorado. We can't afford textbooks to line up to it, but our teachers are able to find resources, whether they're apps or websites or video sites, get pretty good. So next slide, our next big steps. Or challenge. What I've found in our process is, and it's sort of a natural thing, at first when you use the devices, what you're doing is you just find yourself working with very expensive chalkboards, notebooks, and writing devices. because everyone wants to use the devices in the way they've used traditional learning tools. If you're a fan of Alan November, this is the big no-no in use of technology. And so as you need to push your staff members and your students in a direction where they'll use the devices in a way that you can't use basic paper, pencil, and chalkboards. And so some of the things we're targeting through staff development and pilots and incentive dollars for teachers to do it are working to significantly flip our lesson presentation to do more mastery-based sequential learning, and to find ways to provide better individualized practice for students where they currently are. Some results, I don't have another slide, but some results. So we heard about our graduation rate at our high school going from 33% to 93%. But we were able to create a blended alternative school and a full-blown virtual academy that we don't try to bring in a bunch of students on this. We just try to address the needs of those students who that works best for. Our post-secondary participation in institutions for students 2 years out of high school have risen from 25% to 76% of our students still engaged in post-secondary education 2 years out of high school since 2005. That's significant. We had one turnaround school that went from turnaround the lowest performance category in Colorado's accreditation system to performing in the course of 3 years. And there's a lot more than just technology involved with that. And then as a district, we got off the accreditation clock, which is significant for us. We were a priority improvement district, and we've moved up the ladder in Colorado. So technology hasn't been the only thing, but it's been a big thing that's helped us to get there, and we've learned a lot along the way.
Thank you, George, and thanks to all of our panelists. You're all doing some really terrific work, and we're really happy to be able to share that with readers and participants in today's event. If anybody has any questions for the panelists, you can use the question or chat tools at the bottom of your screen. To start off our question and answer portion of this event, I'd just like to ask all of the panelists, what does it mean to be a tech-savvy superintendent? How would you define this concept, and what qualities or characteristics have helped you effectively lead ed tech initiatives in your districts? Louvel, let's start with you.
Sure, thank you. I've learned much from the Tech-Savvy Superintendent Award program that eSchool News has been sponsoring for several years now, and I'm overjoyed to be named a Tech-Savvy Superintendent. But I must say I'm looking forward to the day where when one refers to a person as being tech-savvy superintendent, it sounds as weird as being referred to as a pencil-savvy superintendent. Right now, for me, this honor, being a tech-savvy superintendent, means that we have I'm an instructional leader, and the tech-savvy superintendents you've heard from today are also instructional leaders who speak about technology last, but use technology to enhance their vision for instructional and teaching and learning enhancements. For me, having been a teacher and thinking I'm a pretty good teacher, I think that skill is going to be needed by superintendents and instructional leaders going forward to understand what teaching and learning looks like and should be. But now, as a must, implementing technology tools to enhance their vision for it.
Thank you. Chi?
So for me, I think just really, I'm very humbled, and so thank you so much for the honor. I think ultimately, the tech-savvy superintendent piece, I think it really comes from having a great staff who's willing to take a risk, just being entrepreneurial, and I think just honoring that piece, just really making it more of the adventure. We're going to go forward instead of, living off fear. I think that ends up happening a lot for folks. But it's been really, I think the ultimate goal of having student engagement, getting all the things that they would normally take after school or in the summer at camp is what we are trying to bring into the school space. And it's really paid off really greatly for the kids. They are completely engaged, and actually forcing all of us to think about what other ways we can change the way we teach kids. So it's been great.
Great. Thanks. Karen, how about you?
Well, hi. You know, I think of it more in terms of preparing our students for their future. You know, and I really agree with Lavelle about, gosh, you know, that's no longer such an honor to be a tech-savvy consultator. So maybe this will happen someday. Now, I think our kids need to learn in the medium that they use and learn best through. And they live in a push world. They don't live in a pull world. Things come to them. They get text automatically. They get information out of a listserv. They get, you know, all that stuff comes to their hands, and that's their world. That's the medium they live in. And we think we need to help them figure out how to do that and how to acquire all those collaboration skills and the creation of new and because they have an entirely different way of not just accessing information, but sharing it and showing it and demonstrating it. A very short story. I stepped into a classroom of, I guess it's 8th grade students, and as the kids came in, teacher asked them all to go to their Dropbox page, pull out a piece of writing they were working on, drop it on, we use Moodle, we call it our own NetSchool, so they drop it on your NetSchool page for this class. Let's open them up. Here's a few things you need to remember about beginning paragraphs, short 3-minute little teach piece, then go in, evaluate your own against what I've just said. They did that. Then she asked them, she did a little teach piece on critical friend sandwich. Go in and find 3 others. Doesn't have to be in our class. It can be in somebody else's class, but on this topic out of this assignment, share something that works, that is approximating the rubric for our highest level of achievement in this and these other paragraphs you are going to be critiquing. Say something nice, offer one suggestion for improvement, and close with something nice. Everybody get your critical friend sandwiches going. Now step into it. And I step back and I watch the kids sitting there with their tablets up across the table in the room with each other, and they were busy collaborating on a joint assignment. And I thought, how wonderful that they get to practice right now what it feels like when I'm working for a major retail corporate business, and the project I'm working on here in Fort Worth is partnered with the person in San Diego who's partnered, and we're both partnered with the person in Omaha. How cool is that? They learn that. They learn how to use these tools to work together and create things together. You know, this is maybe more of an illustration of what tech-savvy classrooms look like and what a future-focused classroom can look like. Just watching that, you know, that leaves you going out and saying, I'm going to go at this, you know, we're going to fight some more battles, we're going to be sure we can make our digital platforms, because I get to see what kids do. And that's just a motivator, and it can keep you going.
Thank you. George, how would you answer that? What it means to you to be a tech-savvy superintendent? What skills have helped you be able to lead technology effectively in your district?
So I think probably it's hard to improve on what's already been said, but the first answer I would give would be that you need to understand there is value for the use of technology in instruction. The neck of the woods I live in, rural Colorado, surrounded by 14 school districts, you know, we're 7-8 years into a project of heading this direction, and I've got some superintendent friends who are barely thinking about getting started at this point. And, you know, and certainly they're teaching their kids to read, to write, to compute numbers, to do the typical academic things that you have had to do in the past to show success on the SAT or the ACT. But what they're not doing is pretty much what Karen just described, is they're not getting their kids to use the medium by which they're going to communicate in the future in their work world and become savvy at at doing that. You can use tech for good instruction, and you have to be an instructional leader, but you have to get the people within your system, whether it's the folks voting to spend the money or the folks willing to fund the district in various ways, to understand its importance, and you need to guide your staff in that direction. And I see a lot of places where it's just not happening.
Yeah, thank you. There's a question from a participant for Chi. How do you get Google accounts to students under age 13?
We actually have an education suite, and so we have a closed system, and we end up having, because our whole site is that way, so we have our staff and our kids on it. It's closed, so they can't communicate outside of the school setting. It's a gated system for us. And we end up having the same logons for all of their apps and everything as well. So it's turned out to be a pretty great tool.
Okay. I want to ask a question of all the panelists that related to leadership. Common theme in this webinar and in last week's as well is the need to start with the why. It's the importance of careful planning and understanding, why you're going to invest in these tools and how they will be used. But once you've done the why piece, maybe you could speak to how you have been able to build a consensus or support around this vision, both among stakeholders like parents, but also staff members, and making sure that teachers are buying in to that vision as well.
I'll take a shot first. It's Lubel and Ithaca. We've established some very clear metrics that are associated with our vision and mission and Board of Education priorities. And we monitor those metrics in a very transparent way on our website by using a balanced scorecard. So the metrics are giving us an indication of how well we're implementing our various initiatives and how much progress we're making towards our goals. In a very academic community in which I live, research and data and this approach to transparency is essential. It's cool to talk about a vision and a mission, but folks want to see numbers. They want to see how it's playing out. And, we use quantitative information, which is there on the balanced scorecard, but we use a lot of qualitative information as well. We have young people at most of our board meetings speaking about how they're using the tools, what's happening in their classrooms, showing our community what's happening. Our young people are very happy about our leadership and our approach to implementing contemporary tools and classroom spaces for them.
This is Chi. I was just going to add to that part of it is that everybody on leadership team has to model the technology. There's nothing that we've asked our teachers to do that we aren't modeling for them. So when we started using Google Docs and requiring everyone else to use them, we actually started using that through our memos. We've communicated that way. We take notes that way. We share out. The other piece, I think, is probably by having the support where the kids are learning the technology at the same time the teachers are, but by a different person. The kids are coming into the classroom ready for the next step. So they're really ready for content versus the actual technology, lesson. And the final piece is that I think what's been really sort of a game changer for us is that the actual conversation of, if we have all this technology, you're no longer going to need a teacher is absolutely not true. The leveraging the technology for differentiated instruction and for mastery learning and for individualized supports, like something like Lexia or Reasoning Mind, the kids are actually doing independent work so the teachers can pull those small groups. And I know several of us have presented that piece. That's probably the power that the teachers have seen more than anything else that has helped that conversation. And really, at the end of it, our kids are great with the technology, but most importantly, I think it gives teachers more time to actually have real conversations and have face-to-face contact with kids on a higher percentage level than they would have besides in a lecture method.
Yeah, all great points. Thank you. Karen, do you have a response to the leadership piece and getting buy-in and support?
Yes, the why, in fact, that was a slide that I think I had as well, is the why. And for me, and for our kids, I think when I say our, I mean collectively all of our kids, it is the why is that they're who they are today, living in the world they are living in today. And today's classroom and today's workplace is so significantly different than what many of us experienced as children. And that wasn't always the case. As a child, my classroom looked a whole lot like my parents' classroom. There wasn't a real sea change in how we communicate with each other, and we didn't have, like iPad is only 3.5 years old now. None of that existed. So, but it's different now, and we've got a different environment for our kids. So the leadership component of this starts with a recognition of how school itself, how education itself must change and be adaptive to this whole global economy, this great, big, open world of people wanting Pink's work, wanting high touch and connection, wanting to be much more oriented to a balanced lifestyle, and all of that is a cultural shift that exists today, and I just aren't going to sit and do meaningless things. They crave a challenge, and they embrace problem-based and project-based opportunities, and they absolutely demand an audience. I don't know that I know a kindergarten child who's content with letting their teacher put a happy face on their page and giving it back to them, and mom hangs it on the refrigerator. And they want to scan it and send it to grandma and put it on their family, Google Doc photographs and all the rest. So the leadership component has to be sharing that perspective and helping communities know that this is the now, and this is the only real way we can prepare kids for the future they're going to live in. So I think there has to come first, and then a realization that the tools and the environment kids learn within have to be the right one for today's kids, not yesterday's kids.
Right. George, how are you getting building stakeholder buy-in in your district?
I think the key is if you've done your work on helping people understand the why first, the rest really falls into place. And when we used that Carl Fish video back 7, 8 years ago, it became real clear to people why we needed to do what we were going to do. Then it was a matter of choosing how. And I hope through my presentation that I explained that it can be daunting at first glance when you begin the process, feeling like I need to be good at all these different things. And number one, you give people permission to fail, and number two, you get them to become good at the things they're comfortable becoming good at first, and then they start moving ahead. And just to me, in a matter of no time at all, you start to have a critical mass of people learning and growing and putting it in place. And when you really know you've done your work is when you couldn't throw your body in the phone to stop it at that point.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much to all the panelists. You really had some great pieces of advice for participants, and I thank you for that. We're out of time right now. I'm going to send it back to Liz for just a few final housekeeping items.
Yes, thank you guys for attending, and I'm, again, really sorry about the technical difficulties today. I will try to figure out what's going on. The good news is that I think it recorded properly. Either way, I will send, by tomorrow, I will send you a recording of this webinar and a copy of the slides for today, so you can at least see those. And that's all I got, but thank you all for attending, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.